Hello everyone. Today we will go over 1.3 observational studies and designed experiments. So here is learning objective and we are collecting data for this section. All right? Okay. So we have observational study. So that definition is an observational study is one where individuals are observed, just observed, and characteristic are recorded, just observed and recorded, right? There is no attempt to influence or manipulate the variables or individuals, okay? Just like English word, just observe and recorded, right? So let me highlight this one. So observational study, observed, recorded. Yeah. Now let's answer for this one. An ecologist is studying the bird population on a particular beach during the spring and summer months. Each Saturday during those months, she counts the number of nests she locates. Is this observational study? What do you think? Yes, just observe and then recorded how many nests there, right? Okay, let me write down. Okay, so I wrote down yes, since the number of nests found on the beach is observed and recorded. How about that? This is an observational study. Comma. Okay, would you like to try this one? A college administrator wants to study the transfer rate per college for different degree programs. She uses college data that is made available to her from instructional resources department. Is this an observational study? What do you think? You try. Okay, very good. Someone said a yes. Let me write down. Okay, so yes, since the administrator observes the passing rates and does not try manipulate the individuals or other factors. So it's a observational study. All right. Okay. Now we have designed the experiment. So we just learned observe, study, observational study. So there is just observe and record it without any influence, no manipulate, right? But design the experiment, let me read. So we have a designed experiment is study conducted to determine how varying one or more factors will affect another variable. The variable they are manipulated are called explanatory variable, and the variable that is measured for the result is called response variable. Okay, so let's do example 3 together. We understand what this means, right? So example 3, create designed experiment. So we have a math professor decides to study the effect of using free online textbook versus using published textbook that students must purchase. How can they create a designed experiment to see if there is a difference in student success? What is treatment? What is the response variable? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I didn't introduce treatment earlier. So treatment, let me write down here. Okay, so I wrote down this one. So what is a treatment? Treatment is a specific condition that we impose on experimental units in order to study its effect. Yeah. Okay, so let's read. The professor is attempting to isolate the fact of the free book on student success. The treatment is free online book, right? Let me highlight. Then they say that the response variable is the student's grade in the class. Then let me read this one. Does using the free online book treatment cause the average grade response to increase? How we find out, right? So the instructor could use the past average grade using published book as a baseline. They could use the free online textbook for semester, then compare the result. If the grades were higher using free online book, they would have evidence suggesting that using the free book leads to higher grades. Okay? All right. Let's answer whether next example is observational studies or designed experiment. All right. So let's take a look. Can you please try? So first one and second one. Okay. All right. So first one, Pew Research Center conduct a poll asking Asian Americans if they feel that violence against Asians is increasing due to COVID-19. What do you think? This is an observational study or experimental, designed experiment? Okay, so this is a poll. So this is observational study, right? Asking, recorded, right? Observational. This is a poll. How about second one? So they want to know about the whether the student's grade improves, right? So this is a designed experiment. Then what is the treatment? Like earlier, what we did, right? So the treatment is the group tutoring, right? Okay, let me write down. Okay, so I wrote down this is a designed experiment. The treatment is the group tutoring. Yeah. All right, then we have a cause and effect. Let me read. Observational studies cannot determine cause and effect. You can describe population and notice patterns among the variables or association using observational studies. So we talk about the association for observational studies, and design the experiment, we say the cause and effect, right? Because like a treatment, we want to impose whether it's an effect, right? So cause and effect. Okay, then let's go back to observational studies. So there are three types of observational studies. So let's take a look. So we have case control study. So case control studies, well known, retrospective. So retro means like going back, right? So that definition say that we look back in time using records or memories of individual. That's a case control studies. Yeah. Okay. Second one, we have cross-sectional studies. So that is data is collected at one point in time or over a short time interval. That is cross-sectional studies. Make sense? Okay, now cohort studies. We often hear that cohort studies. These are also known as prospective. So we often hear from the news, we track it over time, 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years. Like twins, we track over the time, 30 years. Who's aging more? Those kind of studies, right? So cohort studies says blah, 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 right? So that's prospective. Okay. There is a nice picture here. So first one, case control studies. So we going back to memory records. That's case control study, right? So retro. So going back, retro, right? And present, cross-sectional study at one point in time or over short time, right? One point or short time. Short time. Cohort study, track, right? Track over time. 10 years, 20 years, we track like EOPS program students, how they graduate. What's the graduate rate? What is the transfer rate? What is the uh, getting job rate? Track over time. Yeah. Okay. That's the future, right? Okay. So let's answer this one. We just had observational studies. The first one, case control study, which is retrospective, right? And then cross-sectional study, which is 1 point or short period, right? Short time. And the future, that's the cohort study, which is we track over time, right? Okay, now this example, Pew Research Center conducted a poll. So poll, if we see that poll, that means observational study, right? June 4 and June 11, 2020. They asked Asian Americans and African Americans about perceived increases in discrimination during the COVID-19 pandemic and the protests following George Floyd murder. What type of study is this? What do you think? So they say that between June 4th and June 11th, short time period, right? So that is present and cross-sectional study, right? Let me write down. Okay, so I wrote down cross-sectional study since Pew Research Center conducted a poll between June 4th, June 4 and June 11th, 2020, which is a short time period. Yeah. Oops, cannot see. All right, next, you try. College administrator look at graduation rates from the last 5 years. They look at demographic data to evaluate how effectively they are serving BIPOC students. What type of study is this? Not the student study. So I look up the acronym BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and People of Color, right? So what did you have this one? Very good. So last 5 years, that is a keyword, right? So last 5 years, retrospective, right? So that is a case control study, right? Good job. Let me write down. Okay, so I wrote down here. All right. How about this one? Would you like to try? Oh, this example, what I said earlier, right? So EOPS program, exactly same as what I said earlier. So this is a cohort study. They want to track students, right? Yeah. They want to track 6 years after they enrolled. They graduate, they transfer. Oh my gosh, it's same. Get a job, right? Yeah. Okay, that is cohort study. So it's a cohort study since it's a prospective means track over time. In the case, 6 years to collect data to measure the effectiveness of EOPS program, right? Very good. So we understand observational study. There is 3 types: cross-sectional study, case control study, cohort study, right? And then there's keyword. Cross-sectional study is short time, and then 1 point time, 1 point or short time interval. Case control study, retrospective, and then cohort study is prospective. Yeah, all right. Okay, so we have a terminology here. The simplest designed experiment is called randomized control trial. So they're just using first letter acronym RCT, right? Okay, so let's take a look here. we have a random sample of individuals from the population. Then we give two random assignments. So into two groups. One is a control group, other one is a treatment group. So treatment group who receive the treatment. Control group, they don't receive treatment. So no treatment there, right? Then they follow up, and then we can compare their result. Okay, now we have another terminology here. Let's take a look. So we have a blind study, not a blind date, blind study. So this is a study where the individuals do not know if they receive treatment or not. So they taking pill, but they might take real pill or they might take the fake pill. Pill. Yeah. So like a sugar pill or real pill. Okay. Placebo. Yeah. So that is a fake one. So using blind study so that participants do not know if they receive treatment. Often placebo is a sugar pill or saline solution. We have a double-blind study. Almost say double-blind dating. Okay, double-blind study, a study in which neither the individual nor the researcher working with them know who receive treatment. So double-blind study, only the top boss, only one person or just a few people know. Even researcher does not know who received treatment, which group does not getting treatment, right? Okay, that's double-blind. Okay, so make sense? All right, so I brought here one example of randomized control trial. So let me read so that we can understand everything, right? So example of randomized control trial, RCT. So example, testing a drug, new drug for diabetes medication. So to test whether new diabetic drug lower blood sugar levels more effectively than standard, their regular drug, right? Okay, so 200 participants, type 2 diabetes volunteer for the study. Randomization, each participant randomly assigned to one or two groups. Okay, they should consider difference between age, diet, how much is severe about the diabetes, lifestyle. Yeah. So this is the, every time when they study, they have to study those kind of things too, because they must have a similar background, right? You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So that result is very fair, right? Okay. So we have a treatment group, 100 people. So treatment group receive treatment, right? So receive a new drug. Control group, also 100 people. So receive, so basically they don't receive the treatment. So they're just using their original one, right? So they say the placebo. Yeah. If ethical, so we cannot give it to them sugar pill, right? Because they are diabetic patients. So if we give to them sugar pill, that's not ethical, right? Yeah, it must be ethical, right? We cannot kill the people, right? So we give it to them their regular drug. We cannot give it to the sugar pill, right? And the 3-month group, we should give to them new drug, right? Okay, blind study. Yeah. So neither patients nor doctors know who is getting new drug versus control, right? And then measurement after 3 months, researcher measure average blood sugar levels in both groups. Comparison, which one is better? Yeah. Okay, so we understand all the terminology. All right. So we have this one. Let me just read this example and then two terminology here, then we are done. So we have remdesivir for the treatment for COVID-19. A study was published by Medicine about using remdesivir to treat COVID-19. The investigators used double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial for intravenous remdesivir in adults hospitalized with COVID-19. How did they design experiment and what were the results? Yeah, this is the name of the medication for treatment for COVID-19. Yeah. Patients were randomly assigned to receive either remdesivir 200 milligram loading dose on day 1, followed by 100 milligram daily for up to 9 additional days, or placebo for up to 10 days. Okay, so please you read this one. And then we have two terminology there. I just made a copy and paste. So we have non-random control trial, or more specifically, matched pair design. So we are using this one for experimental design. So let me just read one example here. So we might have random sample of people apply for the same car insurance coverage from two different companies. Then we could calculate if one company charges more for the same coverage. Each subject has two measurements, one from the first company and one from the second. The pairs matched in this way. All right. Okay, so here is a chart, what we learned for this section. Just say, uh-huh. Okay, so if you have a question, please email me. Thank you for watching. Bye.